Check 1 2, check 1 2. Miami on the Rocks, Casey Chopz. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at MIA on the Rocks. Follow us on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Today's guest, we got a Broward boy in here.
What's going on,
one
baby?
of the biggest gyms in South Florida, in Broward, located in Davie. I got Nicks Hicks in here. What's up, my bro?
Going on,
How are you, bro?
Chilling, man.
What's the name of the gym?
It's called Perform.
Perform. And a lot of people in Broward know about you, bro, especially in the fitness space, because you've made a name at Elevate, which was your former gym about 5 years ago.
Yep.
And you've had everyone in there from professional athletes to models to everyone.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And now you run your gym. You solo, right?
No, I got a business partner. His name is Zach Cardone. He was an intern before Elevate that I had way back when I was a head strength coach at St. Thomas University in Miami Gardens.
Okay.
And then when I opened up Elevate, he was the first trainer that I hired. And then when I left Elevate, he came with me and we decided to go into business together.
Dope.
He's my right-hand man.
Dope. So can we talk about your beginnings, bro? You're from Broward?
Yeah. I'm actually from Pembroke Pines, born and raised Pembroke Pines. I went to American Heritage High School. I'm a Broward guy through and through. But I got into training. It's funny, man. I was actually a broadcast comm major going into college. I wanted to be a DJ, radio DJ, and or ESPN type guy. But my football career kind of led me astray from that and got me into the.
You played football at Heritage.
I played football at Heritage. Yeah, then I went to a school in Chicago called North Central and played ball there. But I had torn my ACL twice in high school, which kind of like dwindled my chances of going big D1. But I wanted to keep playing.
Right.
So I went to a smaller school, liberal arts school out in Chicago. Loved it. Played ball there, and basically fell in love with kinesiology and exercise science, which basically is the study of the body in motion and why the body does what it does. Partnered up with exercise science, which is basically training. At its bare bones, without getting into a lot of crazy jargon, it's training, right? Whether it's weight loss, whether it's speed, whether it's agility, whether it's recovery, it's a huge umbrella.
So you're a trainer, but you have the scientific biology background that goes into
I studied that in college.
Right.
Kinesiology and exercise sciences was my major.
Dope.
So I got into training because of my series of injuries. I had 3 ACL reconstructive surgeries, and I had a spiral fracture of an ankle, and my whole life was kind of like a consistent rehabilitation. I'd play a good year and then get hurt. All of a sudden I'm out for a year. So it was always a constant rehab for me. So that got me into, okay, how can I get better? How can I prevent these injuries from happening? How can I get bigger, stronger, faster, so on and so forth. So I became obsessed with learning how to prevent these things.
Did you go through any type of depression, a suffering injury?
What? It's funny, man.
Because a lot of people want to hold on to that being the player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you were like, let me make this work for me and maybe be the trainer, be the coach, step behind the scenes. And
the first one, I had no idea what an ACL was when I first tore my ACL. I was a sophomore in high school. It was like 2005. I had heard about it, but I'm like, all right, a torn ACL, cool. I'm out like 3 weeks? And he's like, no, man, you got a doctor. He's like, no, you got to get surgery. And it's like a 6 to 8 month rehab. And I was like, damn, all right, well, I'm only a sophomore. I got 2 years left, of high school. I'll be fine. So I actually got the surgery. This is like 17 years ago now. I got my first ACL surgery. So it's very different. Surgeries, there is either you get a patella tendon repair, which they basically take your patella tendon out of your body, tie it up into a little rope and create an ACL. Or you could do a cadaver, which is a dead person's ligament.
Right.
So I didn't want to do that at first. You know what I'm saying? That's a little weird.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then the third one, which is more cutting edge at that time, was a hamstring graft. So what they would do is they would take a piece of my own hamstring and same thing, kind of tie it in a knot and create an ACL.
Right.
So that was like cutting edge. The very first a couple years that the hamstring graft was kind of a thing. So I got the surgery, and it was supposed to be, really, really, quick recovery, like 6 months, 7 months, and I did great because I enjoyed working out. I enjoyed the rehab process. I was an athlete. So I came back in 6 months, got cleared, and I went straight from physical therapy to play, which to me, looking now 15, 17 years ago, like, okay, that's what that was. But now today, that's not how it is. You cannot do that. It just doesn't work. That's how you set yourself up for a failure.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I went from physical therapy, which is basically just doing step-ups on a 6-inch box with Peter over here, you know what I mean, who's just writing down, okay, step-ups were good today. Awesome, you're cleared. Go play football.
Right.
Like, that's not it, So I ended up re-tearing my ACL. It was a hurricane, Wilma. Remember when Wilma hit and there was Katrina and it was a crazy time? It was like 2007.
Right.
It hit Houston bad. So we had a hurricane here in Florida, which everybody, parties and has a great time, right? We missed school for 2 weeks. And during that no school, I actually went out and played football with my boys in the front yard and slipped in a puddle and re-injured and retore my ACL. So I was like 6.5 months post-op. I'm playing in the front yard with my boys, and it was bad. So I knew it, So the first tear, whatever it is what it is, when I retore it, I knew it happened. I felt my knee shift. I felt it happen. It got swollen, and I immediately was like, "Oh man, this is bad." So thank God we had those 2 weeks though, because I had 2 weeks to kind of lay my leg up and ice it and get the swelling down, because we had football games. We still had to play. It was during the season.
Wow.
Like it was a dumb, idea for me to go out there and play touch football with my boys in a hurricane. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So 2 weeks later, we come back, and I'm not playing as well, but my leg isn't that bad. But we still did our thing, and I finished the season. Finished season with a torn ACL, and so I actually went and got an MRI at the end of the year. So I told my dad, I was like, "Pops, man, something's wrong with my knee. Like I'm not playing. We got to go get it checked out." So I went and got it checked out, and the MRI came back as just a torn meniscus, which is like a little padding in between your knee. Okay, so I had a torn meniscus. Everything else was really kind of blurry, but doctor's like, "No, it's cool. It's just a torn meniscus." And I'm like, "Oh man, thank God, this is amazing." Right. So they scheduled me for a surgery, and I went and got the surgery. And when the doctor went into my knee, excuse me, he had seen that the ACL, the new graft that he had done 7 months ago was actually torn. So he's like, "All right, well, I'm going to redo it since I'm in the knee here. I might as well just fix it up again, and we'll tell him when he wakes up." So he's unscrewing this titanium screw out of my femur, and it breaks. And these things don't break. These things never break. I mean, it breaks off in my knee, of course. So now he can't redo the surgery, okay, because the hardware that he broke, he didn't have another one on hand because he wasn't prepared for another ACL.
Yeah.
So he sewed me up, woke me up, and he's like, "Hey, man, so we fixed the meniscus. It's looking great, but you have a torn ACL." And I'm thinking like, damn. And he's like, "And I tried to fix it, but the titanium screw snapped." And I'm like, jeez. And my mom and dad are like, "This is terrible, whatever," right? So this is now, I think I ended up getting the surgery like maybe 4 months after football was over, because I wanted to play baseball. I actually played baseball with torn ACL too. I wanted to keep playing sports, man. I love that shit. So baseball was over. I got the surgery, but now it was 4 months after the season, and I was like 5 months from the season. So in my mind, I'm like, you know what, man? I played like a whole football season with no ACL. Might as well try it again. Right. So I was like, just sew me up. I'll just do what I did last year. And I strengthened my knee. In my entire senior year, I killed it. Had a great year with no ACL on my right knee.
That's insane.
Which was crazy, right? So, again, that was when I started to become obsessed with, okay, what can I do? So, you got to get your quad stronger. You got to get your hamstring stronger. You got to make sure your VMO is big and strong, right? Make sure your hamstrings are stronger than your quad, so that if you do decelerate, your quad doesn't pull your femur over your tibia and create that torsion movement. You know what I mean? So these are just things that I was researching as a 17-year-old kid. Okay, how can I just get through this year without hurting my knee again, right? So then I got through senior year, and it was great. And then after senior year football, I got into track, and I was a long jumper in track. So I jumped in a pit, I landed in the pit, hit a rock, knee shifted, boom.
Jeez, bro.
Knee was jacked up again. So then I went and got the surgery. So I redshirted my freshman year of college. And then after my freshman year of college, I was a redshirt sophomore, redshirt freshman, I apologize. And I played well. Everything was great. Got into my redshirt sophomore year and tore my left knee. So it's my third ACL now.
Jeez, bro.
This was more of like a Willis McGahee heat type. Like I got bent up and just somebody ran through my knee, hyperextended it. So that was more so like a wrong place, wrong time type deal. Tore my left knee. Got the surgery, was great. You know what I mean? Felt amazing. After that, 2 years later, recovered great. And man, it was my third go around. I knew what I was doing. I didn't even need to go to PT. I'm good. I got this. Okay, flexion, extension, cool. Check it off the box. Great. Let's get the quad going. Let's get the VMO going. Let's get the hamstring strong. All right, awesome. We're finally stable. So let's working on some plyometrics, some landing mechanics. I mean, I knew it. I knew what I was doing, right? So rehab that was great. And then senior year of college, caught a ball over the middle. I played receiver in college. Caught a ball in the middle and spun off of a safety that was coming to hit me, and a trailing linebacker stepped on my foot as I was spinning and spiral fractured my right ankle. So, I mean, my entire career was like littered with injuries. You know what I'm saying? So, and that was it. That was when I was like, all right, I'm going to hang it up, man. This is not my thing anymore. Playing football is not for me. My thing is, you know, helping others achieve their dream, you know, and getting to the next level, whether it's, you know, starting from JV to varsity or, you know, getting a Division I scholarship or, you know, the pros, you know what I'm saying? Getting the next level. That was kind of my thing. And it just, you know, it became my niche, you know, like understanding, you know, that you know, getting hurt, it sucks mentally, but you got to get through it. And at the end of the day, you know, there's way more life than football or sports in general. You know what I'm saying? There's so many more things you can do. You don't have to be a football player. You're not, you know, your title is not football player or basketball player or baseball player. You know what I mean?
I always say that all the time, bro. It's best to have like identity diversification. 100%. So if one thing goes, you don't feel like you lost yourself.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So tell me how owning a gym starts, bro, for you, because, you know, that's a pretty big thing to. Did you start, you know, independently working in other gyms, or how does your career start in that?
So like my sophomore year when I was a broadcast comm major, I came back after that first year of college. It was my freshman year, and I was just working out at my local high school at American Heritage and Plantation. And inside the gym at that time, there was a guy in there, and he was training the football team. We'd never had that. Like I said, remember, I went from PT to play. Like, there was no trainer that, you know, did change of direction drills and agility drills and, you know, speed work. They didn't have that.
Really condition the movements for like a real professional game setting.
Exactly. We just played football. You know what I mean? There was no guy that was going to take us to the next level. And the year that I had left, Heritage had hired somebody to do that. And his name's Mike Smith. He's actually still there at Heritage. Him and I are real close. We talk every single day.
Wow.
He's my boy. You know, very, very close colleague of mine. And he was in there training the football team, and there was kids in there that were squatting wrong, and I was just like kind of helping. I was like, hey man, track your knees out, make sure you sit your ass back, so on and so forth. And he was like, hey man, I appreciate that. You know, I got a lot of guys in here. He's like, what are you studying? And I was like, man, I'm broadcast communications. Like, that's what I do. And he's like, oh shit, you should maybe look into changing it over to exercise science. And I'm like, man, trainers really don't make no money. That's crazy. But I'll look into it. So then he was actually training a bunch of pros during the mornings. And then he trained the kids in the afternoon. So he's like, hey, man, if you want, just help me out with this team, and I'll train you with my pros in the morning. So I was working out with Asante Samuel, Benny Sapp, Channing Crowder.
And are you getting, it's like an internship at this point?
Kind of. It was almost like a barter. Like, I'm going to help you train these kids, and you're just going to train me for free.
So he's your mentor, basically.
Exactly.
And 100%. And I tell everyone, that's like the most important thing, to 100%. Find a mentor that you could, you know, especially 100%. If they're high in their field and you're brushing shoulders with, you know, professional athletes. That's crazy.
Yeah, man, he was the man. And he is very selfless. Like, I would put together and write my own workouts, and I'd say, hey Mike, what do you think about this? And he'd be like, oh, this is cool, I like this, but maybe you should switch this up. And it was just kind of like, you know, like trial and error for me, but I had somebody there to kind of look, you know what I mean? So then I went back to school after training with him for an entire summer, changed my major over, and that was it. So then I came back again for the next summer, and he was working for this company called Athlete's Edge. The owner was Jeff Sanders and Don Eisman, these two you know, trainers in the area. And they were like, hey man, you know, you did a great job last year with Mike. Let's just bring you on board. So I got my first training gig, and I was like 20 years old, you know, and I was just training Archbishop McCarthy's entire football team. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I was out there. I was energetic. You know, I'd see some drills that I'd seen earlier in the day or whatever, and I was just putting it to play. So, you know what I'm saying?
So what happens when, like, you know, someone who wants to be a trainer and do what you do, they go on YouTube and they look at drills and things of that nature. What did school and getting your degree in exercise science, what did that add to it? Because now, you know, like, how does that help you in what you do?
Agreed. So, you know, I'm not the kind of guy that's just going to sit there and regurgitate big words. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be like, okay, so when you're doing a pull-up, you make sure your latissimus dorsi is this. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to spew knowledge to you, but it is very, very, you know, important to understand how the body moves, why the body moves a certain way, where certain muscles insert, where their origin is, just because you want to train muscles to do with their job, right? So, you know, let's just say that my chest muscles, or let's just say my bicep is a flexor, okay, not an extender. So I'm flexing my bicep forward. So what I'm doing is I'm increasing or decreasing the range of motion of this joint, okay? Sorry, man, my phone's ringing.
No, you're good, bro. No worries, bro.
So anyways, yeah, so So understanding what a muscle's job is supposed to do is a very, very solid tool for any trainer, because they know, or let's say I need to increase the speed of some guy, right? Let's just say you want to come and you want to work on your 40-yard dash, okay? There's certain muscles that we need to attack to increase in order to do so, correct? So going to school is important. Getting certifications is important. But at the end of the day, what I think is the most important is, man,
no, you're good, bro. Don't even worry.
What's most important is experience, and watching movements and creating drills that can do those movements inside of the drill so that the guy can move better. You know what I mean? So it's just really getting thrown in the fire, man. And that's what happened to me. School was great. I learned a lot in school. But honestly, getting thrown in the fire and say, hey, man, you got 35 kids out here. They got speed today. I'll see you in an hour. And my boss left, and he just put a couple bands on the ground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was kind of, experience was the better teacher than college, but I'm not knocking college. You need to have a base foundation of knowledge.
It helps you with discipline. 100%. It helps you with other things. You know what I mean?
100%, man. So that's my take on what I learned in school compared to what I learned in the field.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
Got you.
So then, I'm out here as a sophomore in college training all these kids, and I'm making a couple bucks here because I'm kind of like a paid intern. Fast forward 2 years, I graduate college. They had it all planned out. Nick, you're going to go and train this place, and Mike, you're going to be over at this place. And they kind of split me and Mike up, my mentor. He was in Boca, and I went to Miami. So at St. Thomas University in Miami, the company Athletes Edge rented space out of their facility, or kind of bartered, if you may. Again, we trained all of their teams in order to use their space to train our pros. So instead of paying an overhead, we just paid them through a service.
Yeah, just
you know what I'm saying? So I was out there and I was training, from 6 a.m. to 7 o'clock at night, whether it was girls soccer, men's soccer, baseball, softball, whatever it was. I was the head guy out there. I was young. So that's really kind of how I got in, my foot in the door with training. And that's where I built up a credibility for myself, because it was in Miami Gardens. And when any kind of downtime that I had, I would take my ass over to Betty T. Ferguson, which is, I think it's 199th, I think, right near the stadium. And I would train kids for free, just to kind of get more experience.
Right.
I'm 22 years old at this point. This is 10 years ago.
Right.
I had a solid foundation of knowledge, but, I didn't really have I guess you could say, a clientele to really put it to use.
Right.
I was just training, certain teams and kind of doing my job. I really wanted to kind of, expand my creativity and become a better trainer. I went out there. I started training kids for, $0, legit. And, one day it was 3, then it was 10, then it was 15. And I got a whole operation out there, man. I go out there, every night and train these kids. And, these kids were very appreciative. And they're like, hey, man, how can we help you? How can we pay you back? We don't have any money. And I was like, go find some kids that do have money and invite them. Tell them it's $10. So then all of a sudden now it's 25 kids out there and 10 of them are paying. And shit, I'm making $100 an hour. That's a lot of money for me at this time, right? And that's where it kind of built up. And I kind of built this little, presence, the white boy trainer over out at Betty T, man, Gardens, he'll get you right. Go train with him. He'll get you right, so on and so forth.
Right.
So from there, I kind of started building this clientele, right? Now, this is where Elevate comes into play.
Because I want to be clear for the people listening, Elevate, really, that's how I heard about you, and it made its name culturally in the city. Because I was seeing everybody, high profile people, models, athletes, just reposting Elevate. They were excited to rep the brand. You know what I'm saying? So Elevate starts.
So Elevate, it's one of my high school friends, Mike Rafferty, was one of my clients. I was training him and 3 of his boys. And I'd train them at noon, and all of a sudden they leave and my pro guys would come in. Lito Shepard would walk through the door, and these guys oh shit, that's Channing Crowder. Oh, you know what I'm saying? He's like, you train those guys? I'm like, yeah. So it got my boy.
And this is the beginnings of you starting to have professional clientele?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I remember I had trained with them before, and I had, I had been in sessions with Javon Curse, the freak. I had held bands for him, and I'd been around it. I had trained Rashad Evans before, the MMA fighter. Again, I'd been around it, so I wasn't the head guy in charge, but I was, hey, Nick, you're doing speed with them today. Hey, you're doing agility with them today. You know what I mean? So my boys would leave, and then they would come in and they'd see them. They'd brush shoulders, and I was like, oh shoot, no, that's crazy. So my friend Mike at the time was like, he's like, hey man, you got a good thing going on here. Did you ever think about opening up your own gym? And I was like, of course, man, but I don't have any bread. And he's like, all right, well, let's talk next week. So then we talked next week. We literally met at Chipotle off of like Sheridan 95. And he's like, hey, man, I talked to my grandpa. I got $50K. Let's do it. And I swear to God, like it was just a quick handshake. Let's get going, right? So we ended up finding a space. He had a plug with a space. And we built this gym. You know, and it was really, really good. We had a great run, you know, for him and me, I guess you could say. Elevate's still around. They still do a great job.
Right.
So, you know, we built this gym. It was about 2 years into the gym, and we had a disagreement on where the future of the gym was. You know, he wanted more of a, you know, like small group fitness style where we had, you know, every hour in the hour was a class, like more of like an Orange Theory type thing. And that's not my passion. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be more of a sports performance coach. That was my job. That was my dream. You know what I'm saying? So him and I decided to go our separate ways. And that's a whole lot longer story than that, but that's what happened.
Right,
you know, Mike and I are still boys. It's all good. It's just, you know, business didn't work out that way.
Right.
So I gave him Elevate. I gave him the Instagram had like 10,000 followers, like all these clientele. And to me, it was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm just going to give him everything and start fresh. You know, I wasn't really in love with the Elevate name and the logo. And to me, it was like more so like a great jump start for me. So I remember laying in bed one night, bro, and I'm sitting there thinking about, okay, what's my next thing to be? And I went over like 50 different names, and they're not good names. You know, and then it just hit me, Perform. And I'm like, hold on, Perform. Maybe I could throw a 4 in there. Hold on, I got to get up. So I got out the bed and I got out a piece of paper and I drew it. And it was a PER number 4 ORM. I'm like, yo, aesthetically, that looks great. You know,
it flows easily.
It flows easily. People know it. And I drew it. I drew it exactly how I wanted it. And I was like, the 4, what does the 4 stand for? And immediately I was like, speed, strength, agility, and endurance. Like those are the 4 pillars of training that we build our program on. Speed, strength, agility, and endurance. Right. So then I called my graphic designer guy the next day and I said, look, this is what I want. Just make this into, you know, a JPEG, a PNG. Just
drop something up real quick.
Get me something, you know. And I think we did like maybe 1 correction on it, and that was it. Wow. And then I showed, because at the time, remember, I had left Elevate, but there was 3 or 4 trainers at Elevate that wanted to come with me. So I showed them, and they're like, yo, that's it.
You got all that experience from running a gym. Like, what type of things did you learn?
Man,
a lot. Because now you learn the business part, the logistics of it.
So that was my problem at Elevate. I didn't really care too much about the business. I was a trainer, you know, like you just bring people in the doors. I bring people in the doors. I'll train them. You collect the money. You make sure you're in charge of that. And not being in you know, involved with that was probably one of my biggest downfalls as a business owner at first.
Right. And this, I think this happens in every business, because it happens with me. I'm more into the product, and then you have people, you know, like my brother right here, Ryan Mechanic, who's into the logistics, and so it's a constant tug of war of you know, differences of opinion and
100%. So yeah, to me, I mean, I was 23 years old when we first opened up Elevate. I was like, I'm training right now. I'm training everybody. I'll train whoever it is. I don't care. I work 14 hours a day. Like, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter. You just handle your job. I'll do my job. You do yours. You know, the bank account was starting to build, and we were doing it. And I was like, all right, cool. The job is done, right? But then looking back, you know, I wasn't very aware of really what was going on behind the scenes as a business owner and what goes into it. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, cool. What do we have? An LLC? Is it an S corp? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, we got a business, man.
Yeah, you just know the bank account is growing, and
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't know what kind of business we have. I don't know. You know, do distributions or a salary? And I was like, I don't know. I just get a paycheck. You know what I'm saying? I write myself a check. Bro, I didn't file my taxes since 2018. Yeah, you know, 2 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sorry. 2018 was when I filed all my taxes for Elevate. I didn't file any taxes, man. Wow. We filed as a business, but personally I didn't, because I didn't know. Yeah. I really didn't know. I was like, okay, hold on, the business taxes are done. My personal one's got to be done. No, damn, Nick.
IRS came knocking on your door.
No, bro. They didn't, because I had a lot of things still in place, and they were all. Listen, the IRS is looking at big fish. You know what I mean? At that point in time, when I was making money at Elevate, my first year at Elevate, I made $14,000 the whole year. Right. All of my employees got paid. Right. All the bills got paid. Right. Nick got paid whenever he could get paid. You know what I'm saying? So the IRS ain't gonna come after a guy that made $14K, in a year. So and those were the times in which I didn't pay. I'm like, fuck. What are you gonna take? I ain't got no money. I have no bread. So what are you gonna take? You know? You know what I mean? So So yeah, so just understanding that there's so much more that goes behind business was something that I learned that I needed to learn with Perform. You know what I mean? So I went on somebiz.org and I got my whole LLC and I hit up my accountant and I got an entire operating agreement drafted up for my business partner. You know what I'm saying? Did everything, you know? But then get back to Zach Cardone, who's my business partner in Perform now. Him and I, you know, we were real close. Got really close at St. Thomas University, Miami Gardens. I was head strength coach there. I brought him on at Elevate. Like I said, nobody made much money in the first couple of years because we're building it. And he still stuck around. He was living in the Grove. He was working at Green Street, bartending every single night, and then coming straight from Green Street, no sleep, training all day, grinding. And he was the man. Like he was the thing that kept everything moving, you know, at Elevate, really, because like, you know, relationships kind of got a little bit strained and with me and Mike and other people like that. So it was just kind of like he just kept things moving. And when he realized that I was leaving Elevate and I was opening up Perform, he was like, hey man, best of luck, bro. I don't think being a trainer is really gonna be, you know, in my cards. And I was like, well, that's good, bro, because you're gonna be my business partner. Like we're gonna do this together. Like, hey, congratulations, you're not a trainer no more. You're a business owner. And he was like, yo, are you serious? Are you serious, bro? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, fuck it, let's go. And that was it. And shoot, I mean, 2 months after that, we got into place, little small, like less than, man, I'd say it was probably like 1,800 square foot facility, little guy, bro, with 2 racks in there, a dumbbell rack, a 20-yard piece of turf that was 3 yards wide, and we trained everybody. Everybody. And it was busy. And then 2 years later, we got into a 5,000 square foot facility. So now we're in a 5,000 square foot facility, and we really built it.
Wow,
you know?
You said you went from 1,000?
Like 1,800, man. 1,800. It was really 1,500 square foot of actual gym space, little baby office.
Wow.
And, I mean, we blew the walls out because we were so busy, so packed.
Wow.
I mean, we'd get 60 guys and you know, football players, big guys in there training, you know, every hour on the hour in the summers, during, you know, when we're busy.
That's incredible.
So, yeah, man, it was great. And then, shoot, we got into our 5,000 square foot facility about 2.5 years ago now. And I mean, it's really exploded since then, you know, and I mean, we've trained a lot of big name guys, you know.
I was going to say, you currently train, you know, professional football players, professional athletes. Can you name some of them right now? Yeah.
So, I mean, Dalvin Cook, who's, to be honest, man, I literally call it the Dalvin Cook, you know, it's like the Dalvin Cook effect almost. So Dalvin's agent is an agent of an athlete.
Can you speak to the average person listening who Dalvin Cook is? So
Dalvin Cook is the best NFL running back right now, hands down. I mean, he's the best. He's the best back in the NFL right now, hands down. He went to Florida State. He's number 33 for the Minnesota Vikings. He's the man. Not only an amazing football player, but an amazing person, hands down. I mean, just one of the most genuine guys you'd ever meet. And he's a mentor. You know, we bring these young guys out there. Dalvin's talking to them. Dalvin is mentoring them. Hey,
that's
man,
big, bro. That's dope.
He's an amazing guy. He's an amazing dude. But his agent represented a running back that I'd been working with since he was in the 8th grade, Jordan Scarlett. So his agent basically, you know, didn't know who we were, but knew that we trained Jordan, and Jordan went to Indy and ran a low 4.4 in Indy when he didn't think Jordan would run that fast. And he was like, yo, who are you guys? You know, like, what are y'all doing over there? So then a year later, he brought me J.K. Dobbins, who's a running back for the Ravens right now, all-time leading rusher at Ohio State, absolute stud, an amazing athlete, also an amazing guy, brought me J.K. And then I started to train J.K. And then Dalvin's like, dude, I see my 2, you know, little brothers who are in the same agency as me training at this place. I got to go see what it's all about.
Wow.
So Dalvin came over last year, worked with us for 2 months before, you know, the season, and had the best season of his career. And 1,700 yards. I mean, and he only played 13 games, really.
Wow.
Yeah, because one he left at first quarter. He had a little groin issue, but I think it just scared him, but he was fine. Yeah. So he had an amazing year last year. And I'm not going to say it was my fault.
Right.
I would never do that. I'm not taking credit for these guys. I feel very lucky and privileged that Dalvin wants to train with me. You know what I mean? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do everything in my power to get his game 1% better. You know what I mean? I don't like trainers that sit there and say, I made him, I made that. That's not it.
So with these top tier guys that are already, you know, number one in their field, like what do you do to help them? What type of things do you draw up? Like, where's your mind state at training the best running back in the league? Like,
so what I told Dalvin last year was, look, man, I've been watching you play forever. I'm a Seminole fan. You know, I know your game. You know what I mean? X, Y, and Z is what we need to work on. You know what I mean? If you trust me and you buy into it, I guarantee you we'll get better at it. And we did.
So
and then
what are some of the things that you wanted to work on?
So he needed to get stronger. He needed to get stronger. He has some soft tissue issues, again, so strength-wise. Hamstring and groin issues kind of lingered throughout his entire career. So just getting him stronger so that he could finish the season was high on the list. You know what I mean? Because, again, you're NFL running back. He's getting 35 touches a game because he is the heart and soul of the Vikings.
Right.
So that's just one of the things. Other stuff is just adding tools to the tool bag, man. Different kind of cuts, different kind of, like a jump cut, a sweep cut, a skinny cut, so on and so forth, man. Just adding more moves.
Mechanics to it.
Exactly. But for Dalvin, man, it was just kind of getting his body ready for the longevity of the season.
Got you.
You know, and then for this year, you know, we got Devin Singletary, who's the running back for the Bills. He came in. And the reason he's there is because J.K. and Dalvin had an amazing year last year. So that's why I say it's the Dalvin Cook effect, the J.K. effect. You know what I mean? These guys see Dalvin and J.K. both, you know, take the league, you know, by storm last year. So they're like, hey, man.
What are you doing in the offseason?
I got to get down there with you, man. I got to get down there. You know, so, and I remember, you know, earlier in this offseason here, we were doing some drills and for running back specific stuff. And I was talking to Devin Singletary. I was like, look, man, there's a couple things that I think that we can get better at. And if you trust me, okay, great. It's going to work. I promise you. And Dalvin literally, he's like, Devin, listen. Because he literally said the same thing to me last year. And we worked on a couple things, man, and I bought into it, and here we are.
Wow.
Because I study the tape, man. I watch football. You know, when I do watch football, I'm not just watching the game. I'm watching movements. You know what I mean? So if I think that your jump cut is too lateral and you're not getting north and south, one thing that Dalvin does better than anybody else in the NFL is that he does just enough to get by you. So for example, a jump cut, right? My whole goal in a jump cut is to approach your frame, jump outside of your frame, then get directly north, right? Dalvin just jumps just outside so that both of our shoulders will brush, and he's going to blow by you with speed, which is why he leads the NFL every single year in broken tackles.
Right.
Because you're trying to get him. He's right there, but you can't.
Right.
You know, then you got other guys who jump cut with all their might, get 3 yards outside of your frame, but forget, shit, I got to go back that way.
Exactly.
And that was one of Devin's things that we're working on right now. And Dalvin's like, look, man, trust me, this dude watches your shit. Like, and is he right? And Devin's like, shit, he is. Yeah, that's exactly what I need to work on.
Wow.
You know, so that's kind of, you know, where, you know, the training comes into play. You know, where we do things differently. We really make it individualized. Other places are like, oh, well, you're running back. Great. You're going to go on this drill and you're going to do this running back drill and you're going to go home, you know?
Right.
Me, I'm breaking things down for certain guys.
Wow.
You know what I mean? We make it more specific to you.
Wow, and just because, you know, we're in South Florida, we got to talk about Tua, right?
Yeah.
You're helping Tua out right now.
Yep.
How do you feel about his progression? Are you a Dolphin fan?
I am a Dolphin fan.
Okay, so you have some more invested interest in this.
Yeah.
You know?
So I mean, Tua is, number one, he's an amazing person. I've never met anybody like him. And I can't even sit here and begin to explain to you the reasons why, because we don't have all day,
right.
And it's hard to put into words. Like if you were to meet Tua, or if you were to meet Tua, man, you would just be like, wow,
this
there's
is
something
energy.
about this
It's something
kid.
you feel.
Something about this kid. He's an amazing kid, and he's an insanely hard worker. I mean, he is all gas, no brakes. I show up to his house every single morning, super early. We put in work. There's a little break, then he meets me at the field, and we work some more, and that's it. And after that, he goes home, he watches film. He is on a mission.
Damn, bro, you kind of have a little bit of pressure because, like, we've had like the quarterback curse for so long, and it's like, you know, there's some hope in this kid, you know.
Yeah, he's different, man. He's different.
What are some things, you know, you're working on with him?
So, I'm actually not allowed to talk too much about Tua because we have a specific, I guess you could say, you know, ideology of what this offseason is going to be. Because there's so much doubt. There's so much, hey, man, what's he doing? Is he going to be all right? We want to keep things under wraps.
Okay.
You know, and I can talk a little bit, but not too much.
Okay, so whatever you can
but
do.
But
you know?
strength-wise for him and just confidence, man. I mean, that's really it. You gotta understand where he's coming from and as a professional athlete. So let's rewind the tape. Let's look at this. So he goes from playing a season, okay, and then towards the end of that season suffers an injury that, number one, anybody in this room here would probably never be able to run again if it happened to us. One of us probably would have lost our leg because that's how bad it was. He had a femur shoot through the back wall of his hip, and he had some internal bleeding, and it was pretty bad, right? So he got that. People didn't think he'd ever play again. So he's blowing rehab out of the water, okay? But then you go right from rehab to a pro day. So at pro day, this is, maybe 4 months after, when he's actually really starting to move again. So it's not like he's had, a year of actually training. He goes to a pro day and he does very well. And still not 100%. Then you go from pro day right into the draft. You get drafted. Okay, and then in a traditional year, you go to rookie minicamp. Okay, then you go to regular minicamp. Then you have a preseason. Right? He had none of that.
Right.
There was no rookie minicamp. There was no minicamp. There was no preseason. Okay, and he's a guy who's never really trained too much. You know what I mean? He works out with the team. He does what he's supposed to do, but he's never really had a full year to actually train and get better. So I mean, you look at what happened to him in the past year and a half and how he went out there and actually had pretty good rookie numbers compared to most rookies. I mean, look at Peyton Manning's rookie year, terrible. Look at Josh Allen's rookie year, terrible. But he bounced back. So it's just like you said, the quarterback curse in Miami. We're never going to have one. We've always been unhappy. We've never been lucky. A healthy Tua is a confident Tua, and a confident Tua is a Super Bowl contender, guaranteed.
Wow.
Calling it.
And I love how
that's our goal, man, to make him healthy, and we're doing a damn good job at that right now.
Dope, bro. And I love talking football, with people from this city. I always like to ask the question, because, South Florida, we breed football players, What do you think it is about South Florida that just breeds, this football talent?
So the one thing that I think it is we can play football year round. If you go to the Midwest, you go to the Northeast, it's cold.
Or like you played in Chicago, bro. How was that for you, bro? Because I can't do the cold, bro. I'm a tropical white boy. I tell people all the time, like, I'm from South Florida. You put me in 50-degree weather and it's panic mode for me. I'm sniffling and shit. Like,
so it's funny, man. The cold sucks, but being like vacation in the cold's cool. Like, I love snowboarding. I'll take me to Colorado, take me to Utah. I'll freeze. But living in the cold is different because you got to prepare every single day, right? You got to put 7 layers of clothing on. You got to make sure you got boots. You got to hope and pray your driveway isn't 4 inches of snow. Like, it sucks.
And you're kind of inside a lot too, which is why
football players in Florida are better, because they play year round.
Right.
All they do is play football. Okay, and if you're
they're in Lakeland chasing rabbits for fun and shit.
That's Pahokee. Yes, that's Belgrade area, man. That's the Tri-Muck County out there, man. They're lighting sugar cane on fire and chasing, cottontails.
Yeah,
and that's a legitimate thing.
Yeah,
that's not like, folklore, man. That happens.
Right.
But the fact that we can play year round is the key. These guys from the Midwest, these guys from the Northeast, they all play multiple sports. They play football, they play basketball, and they play baseball. You know what I mean? Just because that's kind of what happens. Like, you're stuck inside. You're going to be in a gym. You're not going to play football on hardwood. You're going to shoot baskets.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then in the fall, when it gets a little bit chilly, you're going to pick up a bat. You're going to play. Right. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's going to happen. In Florida, no, man. Football's year round.
Yeah.
Football's year round. So that's the main reason. And then
the weather, you would say, just
the weather, man. We have an advantage. We have an advantage there. That's why those dudes are big. They sit in the house and they just eat.
Yeah.
Like the cornbread-fed dudes from Iowa. Those are the offensive line. Those are the guys in the league. They're huge. They sit around and eat and lift weights.
Yeah.
We run.
Wow.
We run, man.
How do you feel about, since you're training these professional athletes, how do you feel about just you're behind the scenes working on them, but you have like all this critique from like ESPN and like the analysts from them?
I don't get into that, man. People talk about this. Well, I mean, obviously at the end of the day, when they're glorifying it, like Dalvin Cook's amazing, he's so fast, he's so strong, this and that, it's amazing. I love it. But again, I didn't do that. Right. That's 25 years of Dalvin Cook being Dalvin Cook.
Right.
I'm just lucky enough to be on board, helping him take it to the next level. You know what I'm saying?
You need one of the guys, like, have you ever heard, like, if you notice his vertical cut right here, it's
100%.
He's going more north quicker now, and it's like, oh shit, I did that.
Yeah, yes and no. Again, it feels good, and obviously I get praise from my friends that know, and then I mean, JK, for example, JK had an amazing year, and JK reached out to me and was like, bro, You and I need to get back together again this offseason, because I did this because of the work we put in.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I love that. That means more to me than anybody else saying, oh shit, you trained Dalvin. You did, well, you know what I mean? But then on the flip side of it too, like if a guy plays bad, that's also not my fault.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
That's really not my fault. He drops a pass, a game-winning touchdown pass. That's not because of my training. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yeah.
So it's both sides of the coin. Just because he caught the game-winning pass and just because he dropped the game-winning pass, that's the athlete, man. That's, again, a culmination of 25 years of their life catching that football. It's not me. Now, yes, we can do things to to, you know, put them at an advantage, you know, and help them catch that ball. You know, we could do drills where they're, you know, catching the ball with the shoulder with one eye closed, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Going on for days about drills, but you know, at the end of the day, you got to keep that in perspective. But you know, it is fun. It's fun to watch because, like, they're not just my clients. This is my boys. Like, we become friends, brothers, if you may. You know what I mean? So we talk before games, after games, during season. You know, we talk a lot. So going out there and watching them dominate is awesome. It's like watching my younger brother go ball. Right. After, you know, I whooped his ass in the front yard for so many years, pulling that dog out of him. You know what I'm saying? TV. So, you know, it's cool. It's really, really cool. And that's more so, you know, where I get the satisfaction from. Right.
So what are your future aspirations? Do you see yourself just kind of running your own gym, staying independent, or maybe working for an NFL team? Do you see that in the future?
No, man. That's the thing, man. I love what I do for multiple reasons. Number one, there's freedom. I can train who I want, when I want, where I want, how I want. I can also go on a vacation whenever I want. I have 7 trainers on staff. Well, there's 6 trainers on staff.
I say that about, you know, when I had to work at Power 96 and I'm independent in the clubs, I can make my own schedule. I don't have to deal with it, you know, freedom.
100%, man. And I can do whatever I want. If I work for the Dolphins, they've got me forever. 365, every day of the week. You're here.
You got a boss,
If I was at the Hurricanes and I was strength coach for Hurricanes, I'm screwed, man. That's a lifetime job. You know, so on and so forth. To me,
you're an employee at the end of the day.
Exactly. What I do is I'm in charge of my schedule, and I like to teach. Like, I really like to mentor and teach. You know, whether every single one of my trainers on my staff was an intern and or former client of mine. You know, there's no one that I just saw at the park and said, "Hey, yo, you get a job." You know, they understand the culture. They understand what we're building here because they went through it. You know what I mean? And they understand my coaching style and understand the knowledge that we have, and that to me is maybe, you know, where I see myself. You know, creating some sort of certification and or entry level, you know, coach's degree, if you may. When I'm old and I can't move and run and shake and jump and do all this kind of stuff.
And you know, you like to teach, but you clearly like to make cookies too, like on the side. Yeah. So you run a cookie business, for the people that don't know, which is like a side hustle of yours, correct?
Yeah, 100%. I got lucky with that as well, man. One of my best friends, he was my roommate. Is actually, remember when I was telling you I'd made $14,000 in the whole year at Elevate? So he was a client at Elevate, and he had a room open, and I was literally paying peanuts to just live in there. So we became friends. And he would smoke a shit ton of weed, and I would bake cookies. You know, I'd literally get like tubs of cookie dough, and I'd scoop it, and I would just put like a Kit Kat bar in the middle of it, and I'd bake it, and he'd be like, "Yo, dude, these are the best cookies I've ever had in my life."
With him.
And he's like, "Yo, these are off the chain. We got to open up a cookie shop."
Were you making edibles?
No, man. He was already lit. So, But anyway, so that was how it started. He was like, "Hey, man, we got to open up a cookie shop." 5 years later, I'm already at Perform. I'm past Elevated. I'm at Perform. We're doing a great job. He calls me. He had moved back home. He's from San Francisco, and he had lost his job in a tech company in San Francisco. And was like, "Hey, man, just lost my job. Thinking about moving back down to South Florida." I'm like, "Damn, that sucks, but that's dope. You know, come back here, man. You know, figure out what you're gonna do." He's like, "Oh, I already know what I'm gonna do." And I was like, "What's that?" And he goes, "I'm opening up that cookie shop we talked about, and you're doing it with me." And I'm like, "All right, let's go." Yeah. So the reason that we did this is because we've eaten really bad cookies before, that have sold to large corporations for hundreds of millions of dollars. So there's one company called Insomnia Cookie. And
I know them. Yeah.
Shit, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. They've done an amazing job, but it's not a great cookie. And look, Insomnia, don't come at me. I'm sorry, I'm not slandering you.
Throw like a scoop of ice cream on top of that shit and charge you like $10.
Yeah, it's all right, you know what I mean? But they sold to Krispy Kreme for $500 million. $500 million. What? So we're like, man, shoot, if they can do this, why can't we? On a small scale, we can sell it for $10 million, right? So, man, we literally talked on the phone. The next day, I went and looked at 3 spots in Fort Lauderdale. One of the 3 spots that I looked at, we were like, this is it. And I was like, all right, cool. You got to fly your ass down here and check it out. We got to like get this moving. So we did. So we came and we went to dinner, man. We're figuring out what we had no name, we had no logo, we had no chef. I wasn't baking cookies, bro. That ain't gonna be me. I'm training people. I don't know how to make a damn cookie. I just was doing a break.
I wanted to ask you, what's the craziest cookie you've ever made, like experimented with?
So,
did you like
So me again, not my forte.
Yeah.
A stone dude that is eating scooped, whatever. You're 25 years old. He loved it, right? So we had 100 different names, man. We actually going to call it Cream. Cookies rule everything around me. That was going to be the thing. Already taken. Like, damn, we wanted like a hip hop theme and like a dope little thing.
Yeah, my friend has an ice cream shop called Mr. Cream.
Yeah,
I did that whole shit. Yeah.
It was every name that we ever thought of was already taken, and I was like, all right, whatever. So we came up with Batch, the cookie company, and we kind of drew it up on paper. I hit up the same guy that made my Perform logo. I said, yo, make this. Boom, we had a logo, we had a name, cool. Now we're like, shit, who's gonna make these cookies, right? So Adam, my business partner, with the shop, went on LinkedIn, emailed 10 chefs. Only one chef emailed us back, and he was the creme de la creme chef that we wanted, like shot in the dark.
Wow.
Like there's no way this guy
first option. Yeah,
there's no way this guy is gonna respond, right? Boom, emails us back, and he's like, I'm very interested in this. Let's meet up and talk. And his name is Chef Max Santiago. He was basically the brainchild behind the Salty Donut in Wynwood. Okay. And he has opened up multiple different donut shops. He's the donut king in Miami. He was like the guy. If you want a donut, Max Santiago made it. Wow. He had a falling out with his business partners at the Salty. Okay. And there was a 2-year non-compete where he couldn't do anything. And then literally the day we met was like March 1. That was like the day his non-compete ended. Wow. So he's like, I'm free, dude. I'm free. What do you guys want to do? Tell me about this cookie thing, so on and so forth. So we pitched it to him, and he was like, I'm in. Wow. And that was it. And this is a week after me and Adam talking about a cookie shop. Right. It happened that quick. Yeah. So we got in the lab, literally. We got in the bakery. There was a commercial kitchen we were allowed to use to just practice cookies. And if you look at the cookies, the original cookies that were on our first menu, they're not even there anymore. It's like they're not even close to what we have now. Right. But we wanted to move fast and we wanted to do this. You know what I mean? So, fast forward now a year and a half. We're killing it. We are very, very well known in the Fort Lauderdale, Broward County area. Yeah, plug the location. Yeah, so we're in Flagler Village, right off of like Sunrise and US 1. Okay. Kind of where like the railroad tracks are, where like Sunrise turns into US 1. Okay. There's like the old Sears Center. It's right there. We're butt up next to Glitch Bar and JB&C. We're right there in the middle. But we're opening up another location in Plantation in the Fountains Plaza. Wow. So right next door to the Total Wine. Okay. There's like a Dick's in there, Sicilian oven. It's like real close. Wow. So we're in process of construction in there right now. So we're going to be in that. And it's moving fast, man. Our goal is to open up a third location, either in Miami or Boca, by the end of this year. How does the clientele work with that, bro? Is it, similar to like an ice cream shop? Do you have like regulars? Do people buy batches? Or they buy like? Dude, so it's funny, man. We went into this thinking that we were going to attack like the late night crowd, right? So that's why we opened up the first one next to a bar, Glitch Bar. And you stayed open till? We were open till 3 a.m. at first, and just selling cookies to drunk people. But it really wasn't that lucrative, to be honest with you. Kind of like the Insomnia blueprint. Exactly. Right. So we wanted to be this late night cookie shop. I remember one time, man, I was working in the shop, and it's like 2:30 a.m, and some drunk kid walks into the door, and he just looks around, and he locates our beverage fridge, and he opens up the fridge, and he grabs a milk carton, cracks it open, chugs it, man, and he's just blacked out. Chugs the milk. Turns, looks at me, and he goes, what is this place? And I was like, yo, it's a cookie shop, man. And you owe me $3 for that milk. Yeah. And he was like, oh, man, for sure. And he literally bought like 10 cookies, and then one showed his friends. And now we had a bunch of drunk people over. But that didn't really pop off like we thought it would because of the pandemic. So the pandemic came. Wow. The bars were closed. People weren't, out. You know what I mean? So we actually changed the entire, narrative of our shop. It's pickup window only, because being able to have a pickup window was the only way that you could actually stay open in Fort Lauderdale. So we closed the door, locked the door, and planted a slide up window so that DoorDash and whoever wanted to come, we can just pass through the window and close it. Like that was the reason. That was the only way that it could be legal for us to stay open. Right. So it changed our entire thing. It also allowed us to build an online platform. Like we had maybe 10% of our revenue was coming from DoorDash before the pandemic. Now it's a heavy favorite. You know what I'm saying? So
Wow.
like everybody's ordering, or going online and placing an order, early because we sell out a lot.
Right.
So we've really built this online program, and it's now all of our future locations will never be inside.
That's what I was going to ask. So most of your revenue comes from delivery stuff?
So yes and no, a lot of walk-up window. So there's a lot of foot traffic in our area in Fort Lauderdale, and there's also art walks, and there's all sorts of things. But also, people just drive by on their way home. Right. They just come by, jump out real quick, grab a quick cookie. We're all about speed. It happens fast.
Right.
If you come to the shop, you order 6 cookies, we put them in the oven for 2 minutes to warm them up, we throw them in a box, and you're gone.
Right.
It's a quick thing.
So how many cookies do you think you guys make a day?
I'd say we probably sell anywhere between 500 to 1,000 a day.
Wow.
Yeah. We've really cranked up. We've cranked up, yeah.
And that's dope to know that you said you started this a year and a half ago?
Yeah, man. And just branding. We built it. We built it very well, branding.
So for the people out there that want to open up, whether it's a restaurant or anything, you could start something a year and a half ago, and a year and a half goes by, and now you're opening up a second location. It can happen that quick.
Yeah, so restaurant business is a little bit different. We're more like a novelty bakery. So we didn't need like grease traps.
Style.
Yeah, we didn't need grease traps and hoods and certain, ventilation that grills and gas, things we don't need that. We have an electric oven. You know what I mean? So it was easy for us. We just need to change the voltage on a wall. Wow. So that's why it was so turnkey, because we didn't need to install all these things. But if you're looking to do any kind of bakery or cake pops or let's just say you like a food truck type thing, you can make it happen. You just gotta hustle.
Wow.
And you have to have a good product. I mean, at the end of the day, we would not be where we are if it wasn't for Max.
Right.
His cookies are amazing. I could tell him I could put together 5 ingredients, like crazy ingredients, and he's going to make an amazing cookie that tastes awesome.
Wow. So can you speak to one of the signature cookies, one of the most popular ones?
So I can go over the whole menu real quick. So we have our classic chocolate chip, which is a vanilla dough. And it's Valrhona chocolate, which is a very, very high-end chocolate from France. It's amazing. We have, off the menu, but right now is our pears and oats. So this is our old menu. It's caramelized pears with an oatmeal raisin cookie.
Wow.
Surrounded by, it's amazing.
Shout out to the chef. That's crazy, bro.
It's insane.
Caramelized pear cookies.
We got another one called our cookies and cream, which is our double chocolate dough with a homemade Oreo cream cheese filling with a chocolate ganache on top and crushed Oreos. We got a fun fruity. This one's pretty cool. It's a sugar cookie with fruity pebbles rolled inside and sprinkles.
Wow.
We had a s'mores, cinnamon toast crunch s'mores. My favorite cookie on the menu is probably our blueberry lemon swirl. It's like a blueberry muffin with a lemon pound cake mixed together. It's amazing, brother. It's amazing.
Wow.
We have a monthly special every single month, so there's always new cookies. I mean, that's the thing, and we're always kind of keeping everybody guessing. Yeah, so we had a donut-ky. So we put a chocolate chip cookie inside of a glazed donut. I mean, it was crazy, dude.
It sounds like a stoner's dream, bro.
It was crazy. So we do a really good job, man.
Plug the Instagram, bro.
So it's at Batch Cookie Co. BATCHCOOKIECO.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Local Broward business. It's not corporate. Go support that, man.
You got it, man.
Nicks Hicks, I appreciate you pulling up.
I appreciate you, brother.
Real quick, man. How do you think the Dolphins are looking for this year?
Dolphins are looking great, man. Depends on the draft.
Gotcha.
We got to draft the right pieces, because there's a lot of guys in this draft this year that could be day one starters, that could be impact players, and we need to make sure we get those guys.
So what would you like to see specifically?
Man, we need offensive weapons, but we also need an offensive tackle. I think that Sewell from Oregon for the 3rd pick would be a safe bet, but I think we need to go and get somebody like a Jamar Chase or a Kyle Pitts at that number 3 that is going to just be explosive. I don't remember the last time we had a really household name at receiver. You know what I mean? Devontae Parker could have been that guy, but he riddled with injuries. I mean, I think he still got it, but I don't really remember the last time we had a guy like a Julio Jones or DeAndre Hopkins. Like, we never had a guy like that.
But one of those guys could be that guy. Offensive line either. So think about that too.
But we put together a pretty solid offensive line. And I think there's guys later in the draft that we can get.
Okay.
Sewell's solid. A good thing about him, he opted out last year and he's got a healthy body. Okay. But I think we need to get some playmakers, man.
Okay. Dope.
That's what I think.
Nicks Hicks, plug your social media for everybody.
The Notorious Nicks Hicks is my personal. Spelled NOTORIOUS and then NIKHIX. And then my gym is Perform. PER, the number 4 ORM.
Okay, cool. Are you single? Are you?
Oh, I have a girlfriend. Yeah,
Okay, gotta go.
Yeah,
Okay,
I got
so
a girl, man.
I'm not gonna send all our female listeners in your DMs. Don't worry, bro.
But my girl though, she fixes credit, man. If y'all need to get your credit right,
oh shit,
at Little Janessa, hit her up, man. She'll take care of you.
There it is, Nicks Hicks.
Sir.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you, bro.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.